Steve Jobs, the obsession for minimalism. Steve Jobs, a visionary of the modern world, a man who saw a way forward when others couldn't. He created the modern design, structure, and overall blueprint of modern phones, tablets, laptops, and more. He was also a great endorser of the motto, "Less is more." What Jobs was striving for was more than innovation. He was going against the chaotic world around him, as well as the one in his mind. It was a search for simplicity and order. From a suburban garage to one of the biggest companies in the world, how? Endless nights, endless motivation, endless innovation, endless drive. As the era of cameras being everywhere, the area of big personalities is ending. The modern CEO and founder have become docile, or at least appear that way. The world's obsession with keeping everyone in check and not allowing people to express nuance and personality has mitigated innovation for the idea of mediocrity. The ones that aren't are being punished by the hyper-analyzed world. They're pushed out and shunned, ran out of their own company by the New and stockholders.
Hi, I'm Steve Jobs. Hi, and I make
I'm
computers.
Steve Jobs,
Wasn't
and I
the
make
case with
computers.
With his aggressive, hyper-fixated personality, the internal mess was the cause for his endless search for minimalism that wanted everything else to be perfect, to make up for the lack of perfection in his mind. There's endless stories of Steve Jobs' disagreeableness, being a problem in his company and outside. We could blame the pressure of running a multi-billion-dollar company at the time had on him and his mental health, contributing to his distasteful personality. I'm sure that kind of pressure builds characters similar. The intensity, ruthless standard he put upon himself, of course, plays a part. We'll just never know how much of a part it played. But on the other hand, it could have just been him. It could be the reason that he was so great. Nonetheless, he gave the world something most of us can't live without. True innovation comes from someone more sinister than the simplistic notion of just trying to better the world. It comes from ego and the belief that if I can't just change the way my mind works, I can change the world. The modern culture of taking a person and only processing one story when individuals are more complex than that. To demonize individuals in such an easy, unintelligent way shows the world Steve created. Attention becoming smaller, focus becoming less. They negate individual nuance, instead of seeing their creation as well as the intricate, not always savor melody each person has. Everyone has their demons, but some people's we can just see. He tried to create something perfect, a legacy so strong that he would become irreplaceable.
Three separate devices, one device.
Due to the fact that he was given away by his biological parents. The psychological impact of this, even if it is subconscious, is irreparable. In his case, he spent his life trying to become irreplaceable. And he did. His sinister ego that was clearly stemmed to by his abandonment issues and the fear of not being good enough. Paradoxically, the man who is responsible for the camera age, where everyone can be a photographer, performer, critic, was a man that tried to hide in the shadows, stay out of the spotlight. His obsession with minimalism wasn't just in his products, he lived it. He spent his life stripping away everything, obsessing over minimalism, when he created a world of addicts. They were, and still are, obsessed with consuming, who changed the world as we know it, for the better, through his relentless work ethic and a restless search for perfection in an imperfect world. Is the beauty of the iPhone worth the extreme measure it took to create it? The destruction of the creator's soul? Through his extreme obsession with minimalism, he destroyed his surroundings, his inner circle, his colleagues, his friends, his general health as well. Was it all worth it to change the world? At the height of his powers, he was abandoned by his family. He created the savage and extreme temperament finally enough for the board to exile him from his own company. Instead of breaking down and withering away, he doubled down. He became more disagreeable. It was the only way he knew to deal with this level of rejection. Steve Jobs after this betrayal. He knew what he had to do. He went to the top when no one can tell him what to do. If the world didn't want to play by his rules, he would make the rules. When he returned, he didn't return as a collaborator, he returned as a director. He learned that the other people around him, or as he would call it, noise, was simply a distraction, and that to remove the distraction, he could finally build something perfect. But in 2003, he found a problem he couldn't design away: cancer. He could have got life-altering surgery, and with a great possibility, he could have saved him. But could have wasn't enough for Steve. It wasn't just stubbornness, it was wishful thinking. The way he operated throughout his life was if he pushed hard enough, reality would bend to his will. He was right most of the time. Steve believed that if he decluttered or simplified his body's intakes, he could design his health back again. This extreme measures, such as veganism, fruitism, endless bowel cleanses, he treated his body like a product that could be streamlined, optimized, perfected, instead of the fragile biological organism that it is. He lived his life in a bubble of perfection. No clutter, no furniture, no noise. The simple idea of a surgeon cutting into the controlled shell of his body was, in short, terrifying. He would rather die than someone intervene with his perfect little world. He was obsessed with the internal architecture of a phone to make them beautiful. Same with the body. The purity of the machine was his number one priority, even though no one would see it. The moment he became human, his friend David Kelly was diagnosed with cancer. Steve, in his finest days, told him to go straight to Western medicine. He learned that not everything can be optimized. The ego that reshaped the world as we know it created a blueprint for modern technology. Some might say it was his greatest gift, as well as his greatest downfall. Jobs saw cancer as something dishonest, as a programming bug, something that could be edited out, perfected. With enough willpower, he could redesign his very own biology. He's treated his body like a prototype, subjected it to brutal fasts and alternative rituals, desperately trying to avoid the violation of the scalpel. It was the ultimate display of the reality distortion field, and for the first time in his life, the field failed. He spent his final months realizing that while he could engineer the perfect machine, he was never going to be the master of his own morality. He didn't just lose his life, he lost the illusion that he was a god. But the cage he built remains. We live in a house that Jobs designed, a world of seamless glass, constant connectivity, and relentless pressure to optimize our own lives, just like he did. We've become the products of his perfectionism, constantly refreshing our feeds, obsessing over our digital aesthetics, and wondering why we still feel empty. We are survivors of his vision, living in a world that is perfectly designed, but increasingly difficult to actually live in. Was the beauty of the iPhone worth the extreme measures it took to create? The destruction of the creator's soul? Was it all worth it to change the world?